A golden age is an idyllic time of peace, prosperity, and happiness. So in that respect, playing your favorite board game can often feel like a golden age. But what about the game The Golden Ages by Stronghold Games, in which players will guide a civilization throughout history either towards prosperity or obscurity? Well, does The Golden Ages deliver generations of enjoyment, or is it a Great Depression? Let's see how this game works, followed by my thoughts on it. Now before we get started, please keep in mind that this isn't meant to be an instructional video on how to play the Golden Ages, but rather just a brief overview to give you a feel for what this game is all about. The Golden Ages is a game that's played over the course of 4 rounds or eras, during which players will explore, build the map together, develop their civilization's technologies, grow cities, build wonders, and even periodically engage in warfare against each other. With so many actions available for players to do on their turn, the Golden Ages could have easily become an unwieldy quagmire of options and rules and sub-rules. But the game purposefully keeps itself streamlined and as simple as possible. For example, when exploring the map, it doesn't matter if your units traverse water or land. Both are navigable, as if your units are carrying all the travel resources that they would logically require. Encounter water? No problem. Keep going. Your units are smart enough to have constructed a boat. Warfare is another system that is streamlined to be simple and straightforward. When conflicts arise, the aggressor simply pays the necessary expenses to fund their invasion, and their opponent's pieces in that territory are removed from the map. There's no dice rolling or tactical card play involved at all. It's all just a matter of strategic timing. And that's the approach taken by nearly everything in the Golden Ages. So the game continues until the end of the 4th round. And at the end of the 4th round, the player that has amassed the most victory points will solidify their place in history as the world's dominant civilization. And players will collect points in a variety of ways, from certain actions they can take on their turn, to investing in certain cards, building wonders and advancing technologies, being victorious in combat, amassing wealth, and implementing future technologies. But again, even with all these different ways to score points available, the Golden Ages never feels needlessly complicated or overwrought. So that's the big idea behind the Golden Ages. Glorious civilizations built in simple steps. For what was introduced to me as a civ building game, it was quite different than what I expected. It really plays more like a Euro action selection type game than a multifaceted civilization building game. And that's okay, because it actually doesn't try to be both. It picks its approach to gameplay and sticks with it. So while the gameplay isn't what I would typically expect when I hear the term civ game, I'm okay with it. In fact, the biggest issue that I have with the Golden Ages has nothing to do with its gameplay. It's with the game's graphic design. The purpose of graphic design is to streamline the visual communication of ideas. When done successfully, it will be so intuitive that the players won't even notice it. But when executed poorly, it can be jarring and draw attention to itself, pulling the player's focus away from the game. In my opinion, the Golden Ages would definitely benefit from a complete graphic design overhaul. For example, before you can even start playing, you're confronted by the rulebook's typography. The text used in this rulebook is tiny. Not just small, but tiny. Sure, the text in here is probably legible, but it's so minuscule that it requires extra effort just to read it, which slows you down, which is a potential barrier when you're trying to learn the game in the first place. And then there's the purple wonder cards, these guys, which have portraits of certain leaders on them. Ding! If a player controls this leader, they receive a discount when purchasing this wonder. However, the portraits on the wonder cards are microscopic, They're so small they make the rulebook's teeny tiny little text look like the large print edition of the Reader's Digests that you find in your optometrist's waiting room. Little design stumbling blocks like that, and the History's Judgment cards and Future Technology cards having similarly designed fronts, similarly colored backs, but no distinguishing marks to communicate which deck is which. All those things were prominent enough that I found that they periodically distracted me while trying to play the game. But graphic design glitches aside, there is an enjoyable game in this box. For a Civilization game, it keeps things really plain and simple, and that may be the best way to describe the Golden Ages. Plain and simple. Warfare is kept very basic, city building is done with just 1 or 2 cubes, and resources are handled more like 7 Wonders, where you just have to worry about having a resource available instead of stockpiling hordes and hordes of various tokens. Movement is also simple. I previously mentioned how moving from land to sea doesn't require any additional complex rules to accomplish. So instead of coming up with a series of complex rules to try and replicate everything you could accomplish when running a civilization, the game instead continually keeps its focus on doing the things that will be important to the strategy that you're developing as you play. And speaking of strategy, one interesting strategic element of the game is that the players themselves control when each of the 4 rounds ends. Players can choose to have their civilization enter a golden age by using their turn to just exit the round. And once all players have exited in this manner, the round ends. The first player to have entered a golden age each round also earns a bonus, and the earlier in the round that they exit, the larger their bonus will potentially be. Now this adds an interesting decision for players to make. Do I perform more actions this round, or do I push my luck by entering a golden age early in order to earn a larger bonus? I don't know which one you should do. 2 other things in the game that kept things interesting are how the world map is constructed and the technology trees each player has available to them. The world map is built in increments throughout the game. Each player adds a new tile to the board at the beginning of each round, as if more and more of the world is being discovered as time goes by. This system not only provides an additional strategic decision, because where you place a tile may benefit not only you, but your opponents as well, but it also increases the replayability of the game by giving you a different map configuration each time you play it. And the player's technology tree offers a way to differentiate their civilization from those of the other players. The technology choices aren't as extensive as in, say, Twilight Imperium, Clash of Cultures, or even Kingsburg. But again, that's to be expected, as the Golden Ages attempts to keep everything it does as simple and streamlined as possible. But even with its tendency towards simplicity and seriously undersized text and icons, I did enjoy the game, and I would recommend giving it a try. And if you enjoy the Golden Ages, but do find yourself yearning for a bit more complexity, it may be worth looking into its Cults and Culture expansion, which adds more options and choices for players to make as they develop their civilization. But even when including the expansion, I don't think you're going to feel like you're telling an epic tale of the growth of a civilization through generations of development, from the Stone Age through modern times and on into the future. To me, the Golden Ages plays more like an area control resource management game that continually strives to make things as straightforward as possible for all the players. And if that sounds good to you, then the Golden Ages is certainly worth exploring. Also worth exploring, the Dice Tower and Pair of Dice Paradise's YouTube channels, where you'll find lots more board game news, reviews, and commentary. So be sure to subscribe to them both. And then, for even more fun and surprises, follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. So until the next time our paths cross on this World Wide Web, I've been Chaz Marler, and take care.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool Stuff, in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
It really plays more like a Euro action selection type game than a Mol Moo Cow.